Namaskar. Good evening, everyone. Shri Aurobindo Society, West Bengal State Committee welcomes you today, evening on 26th March 2022, to celebrate 150th birth anniversary of Shri Aurobindo. At the outset, we shall invoke the Divine Mother, the founder and the permanent president of Shri Aurobindo Society, with ashram music. Jayantika Basu on behalf of Shri Aurobindo Society, West Bengal State Committee. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you on this auspicious occasion of celebrating 150th birth anniversary of Shri Aurobindo. এখন আমি আমাদের গোপালদা, প্রিয় গোপালদা শ্রী গোপাল ভট্টাচার্য মহাশয়কে আমি দীপ প্রজ্বলন করে আমাদের অনুষ্ঠানের সূচনা করতে I would like to give my heartiest welcome to our guest of honor, Shri Harivansh Narayan Singh, a renowned journalist and social activist, is the Deputy Chairman of the Rajya Sabha, the upper house of the Parliament. তাকে বরণ করে নেবে সঞ্চিতা মুখার্জি এবং তার টিম। My warm welcome to Shri Gopal Bhattacharya, International Secretary and Joint Secretary and Coordinator of North East and West Bengal, Sri Aurobindo Society, Pondicherry. My cordial welcome to our beloved Chairman of Sri Aurobindo Society, West Bengal, Sri Binoy Kumar Bajari. Now I would request Sri Gopal Bhattacharya to please deliver his welcome address.
On behalf of Sri Aurobindo Society, I welcome Shri Harivansh ji, who is the Deputy Chairman of the Rajya Sabha of Parliament, who took all the trouble from Delhi to come here to attend our function. And I am surprised of my colleagues, Jantika Basu, Sudendu. They distributed the invitation card for people to attend the function. I was coming from Agartala because everywhere they are celebrating Sri Aurobindo's 150th birth anniversary. So when I came here, I started receiving calls constantly. Gopalda, who requested Harivansh ji to come here? Do you think he'll be able to come? Because Parliament is on the budget session particularly, he is the Deputy Chairman. So I said, well, who requested him? I said, well, is it essential to tell you who has requested him? No, আমরা ভাবছি যে এটা কি যদি না আছেন লাস্ট মোমেন্টে আপনারা বলবেন যে owing to unavoidable circumstances he could not come. Now again some calls coming, but I must tell you who is Harivansh ji. Sri Aurobindo writes, a few shall see what none yet understands. God shall grow up while wise men talk and sleep. For man shall not know its coming till its hour, and belief shall be not till the work is done. We all think whatever Sri Aurobindo said, or everything, what will be happening in the future, etc., we believe, but well, when it comes true, then only is okay. Now, Harivansh ji is one of those, Sri Aurobindo said, a few shall see. Then he is one of these few. I met him 20 years ago. There was a function in my Ranchi branch. Ranchi is also under me. I went there and Dr. Bhatnagar, he invited him. By profession, he is a journalist. And he, from his student life of Banaras Hindu University, he is a lover of Sri Aurobindo. And he started his life as a journalist, you will be surprised to know, with Anandavazar Patrika. Then gradually, you see, he came up in the 90s, he was the press secretary of the Prime Minister. So all that people do not know. But only thing is that his love and affection. When I saw him, I detected this. And then you see, we became friends. And every now and then, you see, he is a part of my life. So when we have organized 150th birth anniversary, and I thought, suddenly I was meditating, that who has to call to inaugurate, because it is a custom, you see, generally, somebody has to inaugurate and come, etc., some VIP. So it came from the mother. He called Harivanshji. Now I remember, I was suddenly waken up. Why? Because I remember, long back, he came to Pondicherry. I took him to Samadhi. And then I took him to Sri Aurobindo's room for meditation. He meditated with me. When he did pranam to the Samadhi, well, all you know, those who have been to Pondicherry, the service tree is there. So I saw a flower fell down on his head. I was surprised. So I thought, because you know, mother has done the name of that for service. So I said, he is a journalist, but how? Well, he is doing the service for everybody, for the nation and for people, for the right cause. Sri Aurobindo himself was a journalist when he edited Vande Mataram Patrika. Okay. I took him to Sri Aurobindo's room. From that room, Sri Aurobindo did not come out for 24 years. He did not see anybody except his personal attendants and mother. He meditated. And I found I was very happy that Sri Aurobindo blessed him. So he came and he said, Gopalda, I am very happy, I am going back. And I will always try to do mother's work. And he is still doing. And then, 10 years back, he was in the journalism. I met him once, but I remember that thing, the service tree. And I told him, Harivanshji, there is going to be a change in your life. Well, you have to be in the government. He said, no. I don't want Gopalda, I am very happy and all. I said, no, it is not in your control. So, that is Harivanshji. He has come all the way from Delhi, living apart, all the important assignments in the parliament, just to join. Jo Antika asked him at the airport that all the way you have to come. I sent her to receive him in the airport. He said, Gopalda bolaya, hum kaise nahi aayega? So you can see his love and affection for us. So this Harivanshji here, I am very, very happy. We all give a clap that he has come and tried to do it. Now, today we are observing Sri Aurobindo's 150th birth anniversary. We all know, but who is Sri Aurobindo? Sri Aurobindo writes, his life has never been on the surface for man to see. All the tablets of human civilization bear the testimony to the fact that when man forgets the real meaning of his life, feels lost in the abyss of hostile forces, a mighty soul manifests the power of God in order to help the advancement of evolutionary nature. Sri Aurobindo himself writes, his life has never been on the surface for man to see. Mother writes, what Sri Aurobindo represents is not a teaching, not even a revelation, it is a mighty action straight from the Supreme. I find, by studying his life, it was a continuous fulfillment of the will of God. Sri Aurobindo, a master patriot, became a master yogi, a unique phenomenon in human history with a significance for the whole world. He was born as an adventure of consciousness, from ordinary human consciousness to a yogic consciousness based on the knowledge of divine presence everywhere. His work for the political liberation of India was one aspect of his multifarious operations. His real work started when he said, trust the Divine Mother, she will free God-like elements in you and shape all into an expression of divine nature. Now, today I am reminded of Sri Das's words about Sri Aurobindo. You all know, everybody knows here what is Sri Aurobindo. Everybody knows. Sri Aurobindo threw aside all the material well-being, an enviable position of a civil servant, and jumped into national movement to liberate Mother India. The British rulers of that time, being scared of a revolutionary like Sri Aurobindo, arrested him and put him in central jail of Alipur. Now, on 7th of July, 1908, his defense barrister, C.R. Das, later known as Deshabandhu Chittaranjan Das, spoke to Judge Beechcroft with emotion-choked voice. My lord, if the pronouncement of freedom is a crime, Sri Aurobindo Ghosh will admit his guilt. Therefore, my appeal to your honor is this, that a man like this, who is being charged with the offences imputed to him, stands not only before the bar of this court, but stands before the bar of the High Court of history for all time to come. Your Honor, long after this agitation and turmoil will have ceased, long after he is dead and gone, he will be looked upon as a poet of nationalism, a prophet of patriotism, and a lover of humanity. His words will be echoed and re-echoed, not only in India, but across the distant lands and seas. Sri Aurobindo was honorably acquitted, and the historical prediction of Sri Das came true. I am surprised that an ordinary person like me visited 140 countries of the world with these words of life divine. Ascend to the divine life of human journey, the work of works, acceptable sacrifice. This alone is man's real business in the world and justification of his existence, without which he would be only an insect, crawling among other ephemeral insects on a speck of surface mud and water, which has managed to form itself amid the appalling immensity of the physical universe. Now, this is Sri Aurobindo, and you all know his famous book. He has written SAVITRI, 24,000 lines, longest English verse in the world. The concluding line, I am also presenting because we have a lot of time. Last line I conclude. He writes, frontiers of the ignorant shall recede. More and more souls shall enter into light. Nature shall live to manifest secret God. Spirit shall take up human play. Earthly life shall become the life divine. Thank you.
Gopalda for additional speech. Now, I would request Shri Harivansh Narayan Singh to deliver his speech on the topic, what is the significance of Sri Aurobindo's 150th birth anniversary and his contribution to India and the world.
Respected Gopalda and all esteemed members of Sri Aurobindo Society present here. I am very grateful to my young friend from Germany also. His kind words, Namaskar to you all. It's an honor to be here on this memorable and great occasion. For this particular occasion, I have already prepared my speech and as per instruction of Gopalda, I have sent it to him in advance. But he has permitted me to speak in Hindi. So, I'll do. Thank you. पुनः मैं गोपालदास से अपनी बात शुरू करना चाहूंगा. He is not only my friend, elder brother, philosopher, guide, but महर्षि अरविंद और मां के साथ साथ जिन लोगों ने मुझ जैसे बिल्कुल सामान्य ऑर्डिनरी इंसान को आज आपके सामने होने का मौका दिया है, उसमें वो भी है मेरे लिए. He has been very kind to me. For me, it's a privilege to know him personally from more than 2 decades. Yes, Parliament is in session. When I made this program, normally Parliament session में मेरा निकलना बड़ा मुश्किल होता है. पर मैं आज पार्लियामेंट में हूं तो इन सब लोगों की वजह से हूं, महर्षि अरविंद, मां और ऐसे लोगों की वजह से. हमारे देश की स्पिरिचुअल हेरिटेज जो है उसकी वजह से, हमारे जैसे मामूली लोग जो गांवों से निकले. मैं ऐसे गांव का हूं जहां से लेट जयप्रकाश नारायण आते थे और जो 2 नदियों गंगा और घाघरा के बीच में बसा है, जहां लोगों का जन्म होता था वहीं वो खत्म हो जाते थे, उस गांव से बाहर नहीं जाते थे. आज अगर मैं आपके बीच हूं तो इसमें मां महर्षि और आप जैसे लोगों का योगदान है दादा. इसलिए मुझे सारे महत्वपूर्ण काम छोड़कर यहां होना ही था. आपने भेजा एयरपोर्ट पे किसी को, तो मैंने उन्हें निवेदन किया कि दादा का वर्ड्स आर फाइनल टू मी, इट्स ए काइंड ऑफ इंस्ट्रक्शन फॉर मी. यस, I'll be from here again rushing to Delhi back because I have to reach there in Delhi. I'll be reaching there in midnight. पर दादा कभी कुछ कहें तो it's a kind of order. It's a kind of divine order for me. Again, मैं कहना चाहूंगा, मेरा रिटन स्पीच मैंने दादा को दे दिया, which he told me that he'll be carrying the next magazine of society. मैं फिर कहना चाहता हूं कि इट्स ए ग्रेट प्रिविलेज एंड ऑनर फॉर मी कि मैं आपके बीच हूं दादा आज, क्योंकि महर्षि अरविंद जैसा रिमार्केबल पर्सन हिंदुस्तान क्या दुनिया में ढूंढे आप शायद रेयरली विल फाइंड। और जो प्रोफेटिक एंड पोएटिक वर्ड्स द ग्रेट सीआर दास ने उनके बारे में कहा, मैं पुनः एट द कॉस्ट ऑफ रिपीटिशन मैं कहना चाहूंगा, लेट अस सी हिम फ्रॉम दिस एंगल। लॉन्ग आफ्टर ही इज डेड एंड गॉन, he will be looked upon as the poet of patriotism. Poet of patriotism. See the words. What a beautiful expression. Nothing can be more than this, Dada. As the prophet of nationalism and the lover of humanity, long after he is dead and gone, his words will be echoed and re-echoed not only in India, but across distant seas and lands. Which is happening, Dada. Which is happening. Today, you all know how true his words were, as Shri Aurobindo's thoughts continue to inspire and touch the lives of millions even now. He was a towering personality who is considered a national as well as a global icon. Dada, in brief, apart from my prepared and text in the speech, the thoughts which have been coming to my mind, I just noted down while coming from Delhi. Great Rishi. He was one of the great Rishi. Great light that shone over India during the first half of the 20th century. Not over India only, but to the entire humanity and the world. Sage of new age, which we desire, imagine. His life was mission to bring new consciousness on the earth. I do not find any other person at this level now. He foresaw coming together of the people of the globe. He predicted that Indian spirituality will enter the West in ever larger measure. He was the first man, I think, who visualized, who predicted, who prophesied. जिन्होंने कहा भारत का आध्यात्म दुनिया को ताकत और ऊर्जा देगा, which is happening today. Entire world is looking for us. आप गौर करें, when country was slave, most dark period we had in our history, then he foresaw, then he predicted. There is no doubt that there are many great leaders on the Indian political horizon in the early 20th century. Yet Shri Aurobindo's exceptional intellect and fiery spirit made him stand out, alone, different. His passionate and militant patriotism inspired many a youth in those times. His idea of complete freedom was a manifestation of his indomitable spirit. In this, he stood apart from many of the contemporary great leaders of his time. He believed that unless unqualified Swaraj was granted to the Indians, expansion of legislative councils and appointment of Indians to executive councils was meaningless. वो अकेले थे जिन्होंने कहा, जब भारत के सारे बड़े नेता स्वराज्य की बात कर रहे थे, he was alone who talked of independence. He was convinced that without political freedom, no real socio-economic and administrative reform was possible in India. And I quote him. वह कितने दूसरे नेताओं से, उस वक्त के जो बड़े नेता थे, उनसे कितने बड़े और अलग थे. He told at that time, जब किसी ने नहीं कहा, political freedom is the life breath of a nation. To attempt social reform, educational reform, industrial expansion and moral improvement of the race without aiming first and foremost at political freedom is the very height of ignorance and futility. Basic core truth. He spoke जब किसी ने इसको फोर्सी नहीं किया था, किसी ने नहीं कहा था. To him, India was not a piece of land and not merely collection of people. It was a conscious spiritual being, a divine power, a Shakti, Devi and Goddess. India is Mother India, a living from divine mother. He said that India must be free from foreign control. Only then she could develop and manifest the greatness of her soul. Purpose of independence? आप गौर करें, जब इंडिपेंडेंस की कल्पना भी नहीं थी, लोग किसी तरह से काउंसिल्स जो ब्रिटिश सरकार की होती थी उसमें पहुंचना चाहते थे. ही वॉज एलोन, डिस्टिंक्ट, डिफरेंट फ्रॉम अदर्स. जब उन्होंने इंडिपेंडेंस की बात की और कहा इंडिपेंडेंस क्यों जरूरी है, क्योंकि भारत को जो अपना असली रूप पाना है, स्पिरिचुअल ताकत पाना है, भारत मां को जो उसकी जो ताकत है उसको हमें रियलाइज करना है, तो पहला कोर काम इंडिपेंडेंस पाना. ही स्पोक, ही टॉक, एंड ही टॉक्ड अबाउट स्पिरिचुअल नेशनलिज्म एट दैट टाइम. इक्वली व्हेन आई कोट ऑल दिस थिंग्स, मुझे दादा के सामने बोलने में परेशानी इसलिए होती है क्योंकि मतलब ईच एंड एवरी वर्ड्स ऑफ द ग्रेट मैन and mother are on his words and lips. When he speaks fluently, I just patiently sit and listen. It's blessings of mine, Maharshi Aurobindo to Dada. How he conceived, how he thought, how he visualized at the time about spiritual nationalism. Equally fascinating was his idea of spiritual nationalism. For him, I quote, nationalism is not a mere political program. It's a religion that has come from God. Nationalism is a creed which you shall have to live. If you are going to be nationalist, if you are going to ascend to this religion of nationalism, you must do it in the religious spirit. You must remember that you are the instrument of God. He elevated the demand for national freedom to a religious faith so that masses could be awakened. So first mass awakening credit goes to our great Rishi, Shri Aurobindo. Maharshi Aurobindo advocated passive resistance as the only efficacious method to fight foreign rule. He proposed that there should be complete boycott of government schools, courts, law, administration and foreign goods. Again, here he stands out, different from others. He proved himself one of those radical leaders of the early 20th century who wanted to involve the masses in the struggle. मतलब कई बार दादा मैं सोचता हूं कि क्या विजन था, दृष्टि था, जब कोई सोच नहीं पाता था कि कैसे मासेस को इन्वॉल्व करें, तब महर्षि ने कहा ये सारी चीजें ही prophesied. Awakening political consciousness of the masses was for him an essential condition of Swaraj. There is not an iota of doubt that his political thoughts made a strong mark amongst the masses, especially the youth, and in the few years of his active politics, he changed the course of thinking of the entire country. मैं अभी कुछ दिनों पहले गुजरात के उस जगह पर था, केवड़िया, जहां सरदार पटेल की शायद दुनिया की सबसे बड़ी प्रतिमा है, अद्भुत लगी हुई है. वहां अधिकारियों ने, बड़े लोगों ने मुझे बताया कि महर्षि वो जो मशहूर नदी है, कैसे उन जगहों पर जाकर तप करते थे जब वो बड़ौदा में रहते थे. व्हाट ए ग्रेट साधक. जिस व्यक्ति की पूरी शिक्षा दीक्षा डेलिबरेटली इस रूप में पिता ने की कि वो पूरे इंग्लिशाइज्ड हो, आईसीएस हो, लैटिन और ग्रीक में, if I remember correctly, डिस्टिंक्शन होल्डर, एक्सेप्शनली ब्रिलियंट. उस व्यक्ति ने हमारे संस्कृत, हमारी भाषा और हमारी संस्कृत के सबसे बड़े हमारे उपनिषद और भारतीय परंपरा के वो भाष्यकार बने. He was the man. There people told me कि महर्षि इस नदी के किनारे फेमस नर्मदा कि नर्मदा के किनारे केव्स में आकर के महर्षि लगातार तपस्या करते थे when he was in बड़ौदा। वॉलेंस के बारे में उनका अपने ढंग से बिल्कुल सही और ओपिनियन था। उनका मैं कोट एक बताना चाहूंगा। He said liberty is the real life breath of nation, and when the life is attacked, when it is sought to suppress all chances of breathing by violent pressure, and every means of self-preservation becomes right and justificable. He talked at that time. He had courage. He awakened the people. Thus, in the face of oppression, passive resistance could become aggressive resistance, including retaliation. He maintained that the end was the freedom of the nation, and the choice of means for realization of the supreme end, ethical considerations were irrelevant. Unlike Gandhiji, who considered ahimsa as an ethical principle, he was also a great man of his own way that was grounded in the selflessness use of violence in furtherance of the boycott was, according to Shri Harivansh, purely a matter of policy and expediency. The moral question does not arise. From the very beginning, Shri Aurobindo objected to the level extremist and described himself and other extremists as nationalists. And they played a great role in liberating our Mother India. How undaunting. कई बार हम सिर्फ कल्पना करते हैं, जो गुरुदेव ने कहा एकला चलो रे. It's very easy to get inspiration from such lines. They inspire us, each individual. But really to travel alone against the all streams, against all odds. And in those days, Dada, nobody can conceive things. It has been very difficult for any person to face odds. But at that time, how Maharshi did it, it's only God knows. And Shri Aurobindo ji was courage personified. When many great leaders fighting against the British Raj were satisfied with dominion status, he had courage to declare openly for complete and absolute freedom. He wrote, "There are some who fear to use the word freedom, but I have always used the word freedom because it has been the mantra of my life to aspire towards the freedom of my nation." That was the reason, because of his bold speeches and writings, that he earned the hostility of the British government and was described by Viceroy Lord Minto as the most dangerous man in India. In a series of articles he wrote against the weaknesses of method of gradual and steady reform adopted by Congress then for liberation from British rule. His style of expression caused such a furor that Justice Ranade had to ask the magazine to modify its tone. We all agree that his view of the future of British imperialism and Indian nationalism was remarkably incisive and perceptive, but it was much ahead of his time. His writings on Indian nationalism have an enduring impact value. His thought on the West at that time, unique and different from other great people and thinkers. Though he was a patriot and a staunch critic of the imperialist government, Shri Aurobindo was not against everything Western. Early on, he distinguished between the Eastern and Western civilizations, saying that while India focuses on spiritual and eternal, however, in later years he admitted that the West has had no less than the East in spiritual seekings. While the East also has had its materialistic tendencies, its material splendors, its similar or identical dealings with life and matter and the world in which we live, Romarola thus rightly regarded him as the highest synthesis of genius of the East and West and the prince among the Indian thinkers. I quote Romarola. Although Shri Aurobindo ji was the Masiha of Indian culture and civilization, as Tagore rightly called him. He was not for a blind acceptance and revival of the past. How progressive he has been. He was not for a blind acceptance and revival of the past. All that was great in the past cannot be repeated, for he realized that there are new needs and other vistas before us. I quote him, our sense of greatness of our past must not be made a fatally hypnotizing lure to inherit itself, rather an inspiration to renewed and greater achievement, he said. He is not averse to taking from the West whatever fills our need and respond to Indian spirit, provided we do not abandon in the process our fundamental view of God, man and nature. An unusual trajectory, that twist and turn of Shri Aurobindo's life is quite interesting. We all know, despite his Anglicized upbringing, he was a fiery patriot who got himself intentionally disqualified in the final rounds of ICS examination. Intentionally he disqualified himself to serve his motherland. In just 4 years of militant political activity, he had earned an unrivaled position as a political leader in India. You will not get any example of a leader who quit active politics to embrace spiritualism. He showed us the way कि दुनिया को किस तरह से हमें नए दर्शन की जरूरत है. यह क्रेडिट भी उनको है, फिलॉसफर किस रूप के. और ये कोई मैं अपनी बात कोट नहीं कर रहा हूं. द ग्रेट फिलोसफर ऑफ आवर टाइम राधा कृष्णन ने क्या कहा उनके बारे में. कहा, Sri Aurobindo ji was undoubtedly one of the greatest philosophers of the 20th century, not of our country only, to the entire humanity and the world. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan described him as the most accomplished of modern Indian thinkers. Again I quote, although Sri Aurobindo covers a lot of common ground, but his distinction lies in the impressive philosophical perspective coupled with a creative synthesis of the traditional ethos of Hinduism and modernity. I mean, a way of subjects Sri Aurobindo ji dealt with during his lifetime. The complete works of Sri Aurobindo, brought by the Aurobindo Ashram in 36 volumes of the Life Divine, the Synthesis of Yoga, the Secret of the Vedas, the Human Cycle, the Ideal of Human Unity, the Renaissance of India, Future Poetry, and the magnificent epic SAVITRI. They are all a testimony in this regard. मुझे याद है जब मैं पौंडीचेरी जाता रहा हूं और दादा के सौजन्य से जब उस कमरे के आगे खड़ा हुआ जिसमें 24 वर्ष तक भी उन्होंने द ग्रेट सेज ऑफ आवर टाइम अकेले साधना की. एक कमरे में हम 1 घंटे रह नहीं सकते. व्हाट ए ग्रेट मैन. His unique philosophy of internal yoga aims at the transformation of entire being, including physical, vital, mental, psychic and spiritual. The aim of this yoga is not escape from life or sunning of a worldly existence, but a radical change in our life even while living amidst it. Just I will conclude with few words, Dada. I think I am not taking much time beyond. Besides his political philosophy, it was a rustic simplicity that endeared Aurobindo ji to the masses. With his dhoti, firan and urni, he looked enigmatic. जिस व्यक्ति की शिक्षा दीक्षा जिनके पिता ने उस वक्त का बेस्ट, I think for 14-21 years he was in Britain. भारत की कोई भाषा उनको सीखने के लिए इवन ऐसा किया गया कि न मिले मौका. पर वो जितना भारतीय हमें उस समय लगते हैं अपने परिधान से, अपनी बातों से, आप शायद दूसरा चेहरा नहीं देखेंगे इस तरह का. ये डिवाइन सेज के रूप में हमारे सामने, हमारे जो ऋषियों की परंपरा रही है 20वीं शताब्दी में, हमारे सबसे बड़े ऋषि के रूप में वो मुझे दिखाई देते हैं. I am very happy that this illustrious leader's legacy is being cherished and carried forward in its true spirit by Aurobindo Society, founded by none other than the mother, the great mother, who was not only a close associate of Maharshi the great sage Shri Aurobindo ji, but also a spiritual guru herself. Addressed as mother by Shri Aurobindo himself, she is credited to have shouldered the complete responsibilities of running Aurobindo Ashram since its establishment and instituting Shri Aurobindo International Center of Education, the International Township, Auroville, and the Aurobindo Society. I am delighted to know that the society, which seeks to bring a dynamic spirituality into material life and all its activities, does not confine itself to spiritual lectures, but also on action-based program in the field of integral education, palliative care, mental health, rural development, sustainable development, etc. और मैं बताऊं एक पर्सनल चीज भी, I'll ask permission to share personal things. बगल में जो सामने आपका महर्षि अरविंद के लिटरेचर और इसी रोड पे जो सामग्री मिलती है, पिछले 25-30 वर्षों से मैं काम करता था, पत्रकारिता में था, कलकत्ता में भी रहा, आनंद बाजार ग्रुप में हिंदी पत्रिका उनकी होती थी, बड़ी मशहूर, रविवार उसमें, फिर प्रभात खबर के साथ में रहा। जब भी कलकत्ता आता था वहां मैं रेगुलरली विजिटर था, जाना, वहीं के स्टिक्स लेना, वहीं की चीजों को इस्तेमाल करना। व्हाट ए ग्रेट थिंग इज बीइंग डन बाय आश्रम। Today we celebrate 150th birth anniversary of Shri Aurobindo ji and 75th year of India independence. Both are. It's not coincidence, Dada. It's an excellent opportunity to assess India's situation not only in terms of GDP and economic growth, but also in deeper aspects of inner capacities. I hope Shri Aurobindo's anniversary will be the occasion not only for an assessment and appreciation of Shri Aurobindo ji himself stood for, but for a deeper and wider spiritual introspection covering India and indeed the entire human race for all of us. Now I'll quote what he told on 15th August, how he gave his message. I quote, अगस्त हम 150वीं वर्षगांठ महर्षि के मना रहे हैं और भारत की आजादी के 75 वर्ष। महर्षि ने क्या कहा था, मैं कोट करता हूं 15 अगस्त को। August 15 is the birthday of free India. It marks for her the end of an old era, the beginning of a new age. See, उस ओल्ड एरा को खत्म करने का सबसे बड़ा श्रेय उनको, न्यू एरा अपने सामने उन्होंने देखा, उस जो फोरकास्ट किया था। But it has significance not only for us but for Asia and the whole world. He told us our responsibility also. For it signifies the entry into the committee of nations of a new power with untold potentialities, which has a great part to play in determining the political, social, cultural and spiritual future of humanity. Again, what he has told, I have always held and said that India was rising not to serve her own material interest only. What are the great words? Each and every words are something. How meaningful. To achieve expansion, greatness, power and prosperity, though these two she must not neglect, but, and certainly not like others to acquire domination of other people, but to live also for God and the world as a helper and a leader of the whole human race. This is what he taught. Friends, Shri Aurobindo ji believed that great and new creation has to come from the youth and they must be the builders of the new world. He said, it's the young, I quote, it's the young who can build the new world, not those who accept the competitive individualism, the capitalism or materialistic communism of the West as India's future, nor who enslaved to old religious formulas and cannot believe in the acceptance and transformation of life by the spirit, but all who are free in the mind and heart to accept the completed truth and greater ideal. ये कोई ऋषि ही बोल सकता, विजुअलाइज कर सकता, नन अदर, नॉट मतलब बड़े नेताओं की बात मैं नहीं कह रहा हूं, वो कोई ऋषि ही कह सकता था इस तरह की बात जो उन्होंने की। आज हम क्या देख रहे हैं? एज ए कंट्री विद द लार्जेस्ट एवर एडोलसेंट एंड यूथ पॉपुलेशन, I implore the youths of this country to draw inspiration from Shri Aurobindo ji and make India the spiritual hubs of the world. And I'm very ordinary person. जो मैं कह रहा हूं Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji has also highlighted that the youth should also be encouraged towards the concept of greatness as embodied in the philosophy of Nar to Narayan, to create a Mahamano compounded by Sri Aurobindo. Nar to Narayan, महर्षि ने ही बात की थी कि स्पिरिचुअल जो हेरिटेज है हमारा, जो हमारी वो ताकत है, वही दुनिया को रास्ता दिखाएगी. नर से नारायण बनना ही दुनिया के लिए रास्ता है. और आज भारत जिस रास्ते पर महर्षि के आशीर्वाद से, मां के आशीर्वाद से है, हमारे प्रधानमंत्री और सारे लोग इसी की बात कर रहे हैं. He has also stated, or Honorable Prime Minister has also stated, that Sri Aurobindo's philosophy of revolution and evolution should be emphasized as a part of commemoration of the 150th birthday of Shri Harivansh. It gives me immense pleasure to see that Shri Aurobindo Society has been making continuous effort to inspire the youth of India and the world with the spiritual teachings of Shri Aurobindo. I'm very happy to see my friend, young friend from Germany, Dada. There can be no greater tribute to this prophet of nationalism that an India which has dedicated itself to modernization without losing in the process of the spiritual legacy of the past. I wish the society all the best, and once again, thank you for giving me this opportunity to interact with you all. We all, अगर आज हम खुली हवा में, आजाद देश में सांस लेते हैं, हम प्रोग्रेस कर रहे हैं, विकास कर रहे हैं, तो we owe all these things to this great man. We should always remember. हमारे कल्चर में जिन लोगों ने जो कुछ हमारे लिए किया है, उनके लिए ग्रेटफुल होना सबसे बड़ी बात. We must be always grateful to those big souls. Just like I began, again, जैसे मैंने द ग्रेट सीआर दास को मेंशन, अपनी अद्भुत पोएटिक बात जो उन्होंने कहा था उससे शुरू किया था, मैं खत्म भी उसी से कह रहा हूं. Just like I began, I would like to conclude my address by quoting the words of great C.R. Das ji mentioned on the commemorative plaque for Shri Aurobindo Memorial Courtroom. At the cost of repetition, Dada, again, because I do not find such beautiful words elsewhere. He will be looked upon as the poet of patriotism, the prophet of nationalism, and the lover of humanity. His words will be echoed and re-echoed not only in India, but across the distant seas and the lands, which is happening. बहुत बहुत नमस्कार. Thank you.
हरिवंश जी मेरा बारे में बहुत कुछ कहा, पर एक चीज हम नहीं बोले तो ये पूरा अधूरा रह जाएगा. It is Harivansh ji who made Sri Aurobindo popular in the Hindi belt of our country. It is he who inspired me to write articles on Sri Aurobindo on various subjects. And I said to him, हरिवंश जी हमको तो हिंदी इतना आता नहीं है, तो बोला आप इंग्लिश में लिखिए, हम उसको हिंदी करके लिखेगा. तो उन्होंने शुरू किया. तो ऑन वेरियस सब्जेक्ट्स आई यूज्ड टू राइट अबाउट श्री अरबिंदो, एनीथिंग, पॉलिटिक्स, हिंदी, लाइफ, सब कुछ उनको ट्रांसलेट करके मेरा बारे में हिंदी बेल्ट में लिखते था. अब श्री अरबिंदो हिंदी बेल्ट में पॉपुलर हो गया. अभी नोएडा में आया श्री अरबिंदो का ये सेलिब्रेशन होगा, हमको बुलाया वहाँ कि वो बोलता आपको आना पड़ेगा, वहाँ तो हाई है, आप बंगाल में खाली रहता है, वहाँ नहीं चलेगा. दूसरा एक बात, हिमालय में 10 साल पहले एक डिजास्टर हुआ, 10,000 आदमी मारा गया. हमको मुंजी जी बोला कि गोपाल आप एक आर्टिकल लिखिए, ये सब क्यों हो रहा है. तो हमने लिखा एक आर्टिकल, विदर दिस वर्ल्ड. हरिवंश जी वो आर्टिकल लिखा, उनका नाम दिया ये दुनिया किधर जा रहा है. वो आर्टिकल अफ्रीका में हमने जब भेजा टू इंडियन कम्युनिटी, और इंग्लिश वर्जन आई सेड इतना पॉपुलर हुआ, व्हेन आई कोट that what Sri Aurobindo said about all this, about the future world and why it happens and everything. So it is Harivansh ji that he is also working for the mother. He is a real worker of the mother. Thank you.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak to you here tonight. My special thanks goes to Ms. Jayantika and Mr. Gopal Bhattacharjee, who has personally invited me to speak today. And I was asked to speak a little bit about Shri Aurobindo Society in Germany. which was founded in 1988 by Gopal Bhattacharjee. And my mother is the chairperson of this society. So Gopal has traveled many countries, and one of them was Germany. And in 1988, he met my mother, who was only a student back then. And she was asked to translate one of Gopal's speeches for the inauguration of the society in Germany. And that's when the journey of the society started, long before I was born. Gopal has visited Germany almost every single year since then, and they have built up a wonderful society since then. So when I was born, I was very fortunate that Sri Aurobindo was part of my life, and I saw pictures of Sri Aurobindo in our house. I celebrated the Darshan days, and Sri Aurobindo has been a wonderful part of my life ever since I grew up, because of the fantastic work that Gopal did, and because we have a society in Germany. And there's a funny story that happened in school, where we had a religion class. So obviously in Germany, it's a Christian country. So my teacher was teaching me about how the world, was created in 7 days. So I said very, very humbly and innocently, "Sir, I was taught that the world was created over the course of evolution, from stone to plant to animal to man." And then he got very angry with me, and I didn't understand at the time. But that was just a different way of growing up for me than the average person in Germany. And I'm just very, very fortunate that Sri Aurobindo is part of my life, that I can speak to you here today. And I wanted to pick up the quote that Gopal mentioned earlier also, which is really wonderful and means a lot to me also. So it goes, long after this. This is said by Sri Aurobindo's defense attorney, Mr. S.C. Das, 110 years ago at Shri Aurobindo's trial. Long after this controversy is hushed in silence, long after this turmoil and this agitation have ceased, long after the man in the dock is dead and gone, he will be looked upon as the poet of patriotism, as the prophet of nationalism and the lover of humanity. Long after he is dead and gone, his words will be echoed and re-echoed not only in India, but across distant seas and lands. And I hope that me being here today, speaking in front of all of you, coming all the way from Shri Aurobindo Society, is proof that these words are becoming truer every day, that Shri Aurobindo's vision is becoming truer every day. And I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. I want to thank Gopal for his incredible work, not only in Germany, but in many, many countries all over the world, promoting Sri Aurobindo's vision. And I also want to thank Mr. Shri Harivansh. Yes, I want to thank him because actually he didn't know me until today, but I've known him for a very long time because he wrote the foreword of of the book that my mother wrote, The Incredible Messenger of Life, Divine Gopal Bhattacharjee. So I read this book already when I was a young boy. So I've known him for many, many years, or at least I've known of him for many, many years. So it's an honor to meet you today in person, sir. And thanks to all of you. Thanks to Shri Aurobindo Society, West Bengal. And thanks to all of you for coming tonight and being part of this wonderful adventure that Shri Aurobindo has sent us all on. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, team. Ha, Dada.
Team was mentioning about his experience in the school. He was 8 years old. So, in England in Catholic school, they teach the God has created this world in 6 days. He raised his hand and said, "Sir, my mother taught me the world was evolved from stone to plant, plant to animal, animal to man." So he was turned out from the school. I was in Meghalaya in Shillong. I got a phone call in my mobile. His mother told me, "Gopal, this is what has happened." I said, he can't do that. You go and ask. And if necessary, I'll come and I'll take the help of law. That young boy says, he has mentioned about Sri Aurobindo. How can you turn him out? So you go and tell him. She went, and 3 days after, they apologized and took him back.
Thank you. Now we have entered the cultural part of today's program.
गणनायकाय गणदैवताय गणाध्यक्षाय धीमहि गुणशरीराय गुणमण्डिताय गुणेशानाय धीमहि गुणातीताय गुणाधीशाय गुणप्रविष्टाय धीमहि एकदन्ताय वक्रतुण्डाय गौरीतनयाय धीमहि गजेशानाय भालचन्द्राय श्रीगणेशाय धीमहि
एकदन्ताय वक्रतुण्डाय गौरीतनयाय धीमहि गजेशानाय भालचन्द्राय श्रीगणेशाय धीमहि
चतुराय गानप्राणाय गानान्तरात्मने गानोत्सुकाय गानमत्ताय गानोत्सुकमनसे गुरुपूजिताय गुरुदैवताय गुरुकुलस्थायिने गुरुविक्रमाय गुह्यप्रवराय गुरवे गुणगुरवे गुरुदैत्यकलक्षेत्रे गुरुधर्मसदाराध्याय गुरुपुत्र परित्रात्रे गुरुपाखण्डखण्डकाय गीतसाराय गीततत्त्वाय गीतगोत्राय धीमहि गूढगुल्फाय गन्धमत्ताय गोजयप्रदाय धीमहि गुणातीताय गुणाधीशाय गुणप्रविष्टाय धीमहि एकदन्ताय वक्रतुण्डाय गौरीतनयाय धीमहि गजेशानाय भालचन्द्राय श्रीगणेशाय धीमहि
एकदन्ताय वक्रतुण्डाय गौरीतनयाय धीमहि गजेशानाय भालचन्द्राय श्रीगणेशाय धीमहि
सर्वराजाय गन्धाय सर्वगानश्रवणप्रणयिने
गाढानुरागाय ग्रन्थाय गीताय ग्रन्थार्थतत्त्वविदे
ग्रन्थगेयाय ग्रन्थान्तरात्मने गीतलीनाय गीताश्रयाय गीतवाद्यपटवे गेयचरिताय गायकवराय गन्धर्वप्रियकृते गायकाधीन विग्रहाय गङ्गाजलप्रणयवते गौरीस्तनन्दनाय गौरी हृदयनन्दनाय गौरभानुसुताय गौरी गणेश्वराय गौरी प्रणयाय गौरी प्रवणाय गौरभावाय धीमहि गो सहस्राय गोवर्धनाय गोपगोपाय धीमहि गुणातीताय गुणाधीशाय गुणप्रविष्टाय धीमहि एकदन्ताय वक्रतुण्डाय गौरीतनयाय धीमहि गजेशानाय भालचन्द्राय श्रीगणेशाय धीमहि एकदन्ताय वक्रतुण्डाय गौरीतनयाय धीमहि गजेशानाय भालचन्द्राय श्रीगणेशाय धीमहि
উপস্থিত সকলকে আমার নমস্কার। অতিথি মণ্ডল যারা আছেন, গুড ইভিনিং টু দ্য অনারেবল গেস্ট। আই এম রিয়েলি অনার্ড টু বি হিয়ার টুডে। আমার অন্তরের প্রণাম শ্রদ্ধা জানাই শ্রী অরবিন্দের চরণে। আজকে এমন একটি দিনে আমাকে আমন্ত্রণ জানিয়েছেন শ্রী অরবিন্দ সোসাইটি। আমি তাদের ধন্যবাদ জানাই, কেননা এরকম পবিত্র পরিবেশে আমার আগে যারা বলে গেলেন মুগ্ধ হয়ে শুনলাম। তারপরে নিশিকান্তর দুটি গান গাইবার জন্য অনুরোধ করেছেন জয়ন্তিকাদি, এবং আমার খুব একটু সুবিধে করে দিয়েছেন যে দুটি গানও উনি বলে দিয়েছেন, কেননা দিলীপ কুমার রায় সুরে নিশিকান্তের গান এত রয়েছে, সেখান থেকে বেছে দুটি শোনানো বড় মুশকিলের কথা ছিল। তো উনি বলে দিয়েছেন একটি মাতৃবন্দনা এবং আরেকটি পূজা আমার সাঙ্গ হলো। দুটি গান আপনাদের সামনে আমি নিবেদন করব। আমার সঙ্গে যারা আছেন, তবলায় আছেন দীপঙ্কর আচার্য, অত্যন্ত গুণী একজন শিল্পী, এবং কিবোর্ডে আছে রিতম বাগচি, সেও আমার সন্তান সম অত্যন্ত গুণী একজন মানুষের শিষ্য প্রতাপ রায়ের, এবং মন্দিরায় আছে অলোক রায়চৌধুরী, সে আমার ভাতৃসম, সেও অত্যন্ত গুণী এবং সব সময় আপনারা দেখে থাকেন। আমি আমার অনুষ্ঠান শুরু করছি দিলীপ কুমার রায়ের সুরে নিশিকান্ত লেখা একটি মাতৃবন্দনা দিয়ে। মাত্র দুদিন আগে তার জন্মদিন গেছে নিশিকান্ত, তাকে আমার শ্রদ্ধা। এনারা সকলেই ছিলেন সুরের সাধক। তাদের গান দিয়ে আজকের অনুষ্ঠান শুরু করছি। চলো সবিতা বরণী করুণা হইয়া তামস হরণী। হে কনক চলো সবিতা বরণী করুণা হইয়া তামস হরণী। মলিন মহির তলে অবতীর্ণা তুমি বৈকুণ্ঠ বিকাশ বিদীর্ণা। অপরাধ মুনি মন্দিত অমন মানব প্রণাম রবি ভাষণ যুগ যুগ পুঞ্জিত তিমির বিনাশন তব আবির্ভাবে রবি ভাষণ যুগ যুগ পুঞ্জিত তিমির বিনাশন তুমি সব সত্তা শিখরে আছো সব অতলে সব রতনে রাজ বিজ্ঞানে মন প্রদীপ অমলে মানব নাম তব পদকমলে হে চলো সুবিধা বরণে করুণাময়ী মা নাম সোহরণী কালো পথে তুমি কালো বিহীনা কালো পথে মা কালো পথে তুমি কালো বিহীনা খণ্ড খণ্ডে তুমি আসিনা সমপ্রাণীর সমনুরাগে সব তব প্রেম স্পন্দন রাখে সব রঞ্জন রঞ্জিত অমলে মানব প্রণাম তব পদকমলে হে কনকোজ্জ্বল শোভিতা বরণে করুণাময়ী মা নাম সোহরণী তুমি মা দুর্গা দুর্গত পাশে সদা বিরাজিত দুর্গতি নাশে দুর্গম দানব বিনাশিনী মা সর্বজয়া তব তেজস্বী মা বিধিবিদ্রোহ বিদলনী অমলে মানব প্রণাম তব পদকমলে হে কনকোজ্জ্বল শোভিতা বরণে করুণাময়ী মা নাম সোহরণী তারা ত্রিভুবন অন্তরবন্ধি অক্ষয় যৌবনা শোভিতা তন্বী তারা ত্রিভুবন অন্তরবন্ধি অক্ষয় যৌবনা শোভিতা তন্বী হে ভগদাতা সতী শিবানী অভয়া জয়া শক্তি ভবানী নিরঞ্জনা বিভূষণায় অমলে মানব প্রণাম তব পদকমলে হে কনকোজ্জ্বল হে কনকোজ্জ্বল হে কনকোজ্জ্বল শোভিতা বরণে করুণাময়ী মা নাম সোহরণী হে কনকোজ্জ্বল। আমার পরের এবং শেষ নিবেদন পূজা আমার সাঙ্গ হলো হৃদয় মাঝে তোমায় পেয়ে। পূজা আমার সাঙ্গ হলো হৃদয় মাঝে তোমায় পেয়ে। পূজা আমার সাঙ্গ হলো হৃদয় মাঝে তোমায় পূজা আমার সাঙ্গ হলো এখন শুধু চলছি পথে এখন শুধু চলছি পথে তোমার গান গেয়ে পূজা আমার সাঙ্গ হলো হৃদয় মাঝে তোমায় পূজা আমার সাঙ্গ হলো। অনেক ধন্যবাদ। হাসিদা সুন্দর সাউন্ড করেছেন, দীপঙ্কর দা, প্রীতম এবং অলোক। আর জয়ন্তিকা দিকে অনেক অনেক ধন্যবাদ
প্রশান্তাদি
আমাকে আমন্ত্রণ জানাবার জন্য।
এই যে
গোপাল দা অনেক অনেক ধন্যবাদ।
ধন্যবাদ।
The tale of Shattoban and Savitri is recited in the Mahabharata as a story of conjugal love conquering death. But this legend is, as shown by many features of the human tale, one of the many symbolic myths of the Vedic cycle. Shattoban is the soul carrying the divine truth of being within itself, but descended into the grip of death and ignorance. Savitri is the divine word, daughter of the sun, goddess of the supreme truth who comes down and is born to save. Ashwapati, the lord of the horse, her human father, is the lord of Tapusha, the concentrated energy of spiritual endeavor that helps us to rise from the mortal to the immortal planes. Dumotshin, lord of the shining hosts, father of Shattoban, is the divine mind, here fallen blind, losing its celestial kingdom of vision, and through that loss, its kingdom of glory. Still, this is not a mere allegory. The characters are not personified qualities, but incarnations or emanations of living and conscious forces with whom we can enter into concrete touch, and they take human bodies in order to help man and show him the way from his mortal state to a divine consciousness and immortal life. Sri Aurobindo.
সাবিত্রী সত্যবান আখ্যান মহাভারতে মৃত্যুঞ্জয়ী দাম্পত্য প্রেমের কাহিনী হিসাবে বর্ণিত হয়েছে, কিন্তু এই কাহিনীটি বৈদিক মণ্ডলের প্রতীকী পৌরাণিক আখ্যানগুলির একটি। মানুষী গল্পটির বহু লক্ষণ থেকে এই প্রমাণ পাওয়া যায়। সত্যবান হলেন আত্মার প্রতীক। তিনি সত্তার দিব্য সত্য নিজের মধ্যে বহন করেন, কিন্তু অবতরণ করেছেন মৃত্যু ও অজ্ঞানের কবলে। সাবিত্রী হলেন দিব্যবাক, সূর্যের দুহিতা, পরম সত্যের দেবী। মানবের রক্ষাকল্পে পৃথিবীতে অবতরণ করেছেন এবং জন্মগ্রহণ করেছেন। তাঁর মানুষী পিতা অশ্বপতি, অশ্বের পতি, তপস্যার অধীশ্বর, আধ্যাত্মিক সাধনার ঘনীভূত শক্তি, যা আমাদের মর্তভূমি হতে অমৃতলোকে উন্নয়নে সাহায্য করে। সত্যবানের পিতা হলেন দুমৎসেন, জ্যোতির্ময় সেনানীর প্রভু। তিনি দিব্য মানুষ, অবতীর্ণ হয়ে অন্ধ হয়েছেন। দৃষ্টির স্বর্গরাজ্য হারিয়ে ফেলে তাঁর মহিমাময় রাজ্যও হারিয়েছেন। তবুও এটি রূপক মাত্র নয়, চরিত্রগুলি গুণাবলীর ব্যক্তিরূপ নয়, তারা জীবন্ত চৈতন্য শক্তির প্রমূর্ত সত্তা অথবা বিভূতি। তাঁদের সঙ্গে আমরা বাস্তব যোগ স্থাপন করতে পারি। মানুষকে সাহায্য করতে এবং মর্ত সত্তা থেকে দিব্য চেতনা ও অমর জীবন লাভের পথ প্রদর্শন করতে তাঁরা মানব দেহ গ্রহণ করেন। শ্রী অরবিন্দ।
It was the hour before the gods awake, as in a dark beginning of all things, a mute featureless semblance of the unknown, repeating forever the unconscious act, prolonging forever the unseeing will, cradled the cosmic drowse of ignorant force, whose moved creative slumber kindles the suns and carries our lives in its somnambulist whirl.
Strong forerunner, I have heard thy cry. One shall descend and break the iron law.
Contraries prepare her harmony. Towards her, our knowledge climbs, our passion grows. In her miraculous rapture we shall dwell. Her clasp shall turn to ecstasy our pain. Our self shall be one self with all through her.
A world's desire compelled her mortal birth. Our life shall find in its fulfilled response above the boundless hushed beatitudes, below the wonder of the embrace divine.
Our acts interpret an omniscient force that dwells in the compelling stuff of things, and nothing happens in the cosmic play but at its time and in its foreseen place.
O thou who comest to me out of time's silences, O sunlight, molded like a golden maid,
Crossing a wide expanse of brilliant peace, Narod, the heavenly sage from paradise, came chanting through the large and lustrous air.
Father and King, I have carried out thy will. The son of Dyumatshen, Shottoban, I have met on the wild forest's lonely verge. My father, I have chosen. This is done.
Heaven's greatness came, but was too great to stay. 12 swift-winged months are given to him and her. This day returning, Shottoban must die.
I reject the grace and the mockery. Mounting thy car, go forth, O Savitri, and travel once more through the peopled lands.
Once my heart chose and chooses not again. The word I have spoken can never be erased. It is written in the record book of God. My heart has sealed its troth to Shottoban. Its signature adverse fate cannot efface. Its seal not fate, nor death, nor time dissolve.
Narod wants the queen to stand aside, to leave Savitri to meet her fate. Fate followed her foreseen immutable road.
Savitri hears a voice within herself.
Why camest thou to this dumb, death-bound earth, this ignorant life beneath indifferent skies, died like a sacrifice on the altar of time? O spirit, O immortal energy, if 'twas to nurse grief in a helpless heart, or with hard, tearless eyes await thy doom, arise, O soul, and vanquish time and death. contraries prepare her harmony. Towards her our knowledge climbs, our passion gropes. In her miraculous rapture we shall dwell. Her clasp shall turn to ecstasy our pain. Our self shall be one self with all through her.
She met first the mother of sorrow.
To share the sufferings of the world I came. I draw my children's pangs into my breast. I am the nurse of the dolour beneath the stars. I am the soul of all who wailing writhe under the ruthless harrow of the gods. Yes, Mother, your role is indispensable, but that is not all enough.
Met the mother of joy and peace.
I am peace that steals into man's war-worn breast. I am charity with the kindly hands that bless. I am silence with the noisy tramp of life. I am knowledge pouring on her cosmic map. And all experience a long march towards light.
meets the mother of might.
I smite the Titan who bestrides the world and slay the ogre in his blood-stained den. I am Durga, goddess of the proud and strong. Lakshmi, Queen of the fair and fortunate. I wear the face of Kali when I kill. I trample the corpses of the demon hordes. I am charged by God to do His mighty work. Love shall at last unwounded tread earth's soil. Man's mind shall admit the sovereignty of truth, and body bear the immense descent of God.
The Day of Death.
Savitri knows that this is the day on which Shattoban must die. Suddenly, Shattoban lies down with his head on Savitri's lap. Savitri feels neither grief nor fear. A great calm descends on her.
The god of death steps into the eternal night.
This sacred legend and immortal myth, it is a conscious yearning of thy flesh. It is a glorious burning of thy nerves. And yet, how brief and frail, how soon is spent this treasure wasted by the gods on man. If Shattoban had lived, love would have died. But Shattoban is dead, and love shall live a little while in thy sad breast, until his face and body fade on memory's wall, where other bodies, other faces come.
love is not a hunger of the heart. My love is not a craving of the flesh. It came to me from God. To God returns. Even in all that life and man have marred, a whisper of divinity still is heard. A breath is felt from the eternal spheres.
I am charged by God to fulfill my work with Shattoban, and I have to take him.
She asked what Shattoban wanted, the vision of his parents and the recovery of Dimutchen's kingdom. And Savitri looked on death and answered not.
A mighty transformation came on her, a halo of the indwelling deity, the immortal's luster that had lit her face.
Out of abysmal trance, her spirit woke.
O Shattoban, O luminous Savitri, I sent you forth of old beneath the stars, a dual power of God in an ignorant world.
With the promise from the Supreme, Savitri returns to the earth along with Shattoban.
The frontiers of the ignorance shall recede. More and more souls shall enter into light. Nature shall live to manifest secret God. The spirit shall take up the human play. This earthly life become the life divine.
পৃথিবী তখন উন্মুক্ত হবে ভগবানের দিকে। সাধারণ কর্মাবলীকে উদ্ভাসিত করে তুলবে চিন্ময়ের কিরণে। প্রকৃতি তার জীবন করবে গুপ্ত ভগবানকে ব্যক্ত করার জন্য। চিন্ময় পুরুষই মানুষী লীলার ভার গ্রহণ করবে। এই পার্থিব জীবনই হয়ে উঠবে দিব্য জীবন।
ধন্যবাদ সবাইকে। আপনাদের ভালো লেগেছে, এই করতালি বলে দিচ্ছে যে আপনাদের সবার ভালো লেগেছে। এটাই আমাদের আনন্দ, এটাই মাস্টারকে আমাদের অফারিং। ধন্যবাদ।